After the new Wars and the Veilbreaker update, we can finally get ourselves the Archon Shards, which basically just like a buff for our Warframe. And spoilers alert, yeah, the live stream did mention that about Archon Shards, but I do not want to spoil too much, so not gonna talk about that one. But this also gave me one idea about my current situation. If you ask me, is Archon Shard useful? I could say it is. But surprisingly, I never use it that much. Why don't you use Archon Shards despite they're very good? This is what I want to share with you in this video. So, without further ado, let's hop right into it. Before we start, we have to know that how do we get Archon Shards? For those who do not know, especially beginners, Archon Shards is basically a late game resources. That's because you can only get it by clearing the Archon Hunt or buying it from the cheaper shop where you can get all those stocks from the Cause mission. Because for both of these methods, you need to clear the New Wars quest and the Veilbreaker quest, which basically very late already. That is why you don't see beginners use it. And for those 3 Archon Shards you can acquire, ignoring a Tau Forge Archon Shard, you have 3 different shards, which is the Offensive Crimson Shards, the Utility Ember Shard, and the Defensive Azure Shards. These 3 will provide a different buff for your Warframe when you try to equip it into your Warframe, but at the same time you also need the helmet system to help you. So basically I know a lot of people know about this by this point. The funny thing is that I do have a lot of Archon Shards. You can see here that I already back quite an amount, but I don't really use them. For what reason I don't use them, despite they're very good? The first thing I can tell for myself is that Archon Shard is a buff, but not the main buff. I only treat them as a small buff. That's because if you take a closer look, all those buffs are very useful, but the value is just being so low. So low that slotting one into your Warframe could be useful, but the difference is too minor for me to notice it. So in most situations, I don't really use that often. Yes, you could say that I could slot all 5 in there, but seriously, you have 3 different shards and each of them provide 5 different buffs. Comparing that you only have 5 slots, how many combinations you can create it by yourself? I do not want to calculate it because I know it can be massive. Because it is a small buff, this also results in that I know when is the time that whether I really need to use it. Take a closer look at my hero build here. I know that for my hero build, I already have enough strength. The only thing I need is duration. But do I really need to slot in all 5 slots only for the duration? Well, some case, yes, you can. But for my case, I think I have 2 reasons for not using it. The first reason is of course not really necessary because it's just too small buff, and when you slot in too many into it, then later on for the remaining part where you want to slot in other shards, that basically just a waste. As for the second reason, it's the one reason that I afraid the most, which is the clash between 2 builds. The prime example here is none other than Nova. We all know that Nova can run a slow Nova build by using the Molecular Prime. With the positive strength build, we can make sure that Molecular Prime can slow the enemies down, which is why we need to use strength. And based on my build here, you can notice that the strength requirement is not very high. This also means that by using Archon Shard, it is quite sufficient enough to increase the strength while also clear out some more slot for me to run with other builds. This is usually the good situation. But at the same time, I also have another build which is the Speed Nova build, which instead of the positive strength, I have the negative strength to let the Molecular Prime speed up the enemies. This build is usually used for the survival and disruption mission, where I need the enemies spawn much faster. In this case, I do not want my strength to be in the positive side. But if let's say that I slot in the Archon Shard, this will be a problem, because the Archon Shard buff usually can be shared among the builds in the same frame. This also means that slotting the Archon Shard for my Slow Nova build can also inherit the same amount of strength into the Speed Nova build, resulting in that even though I run a negative strength, but because of the Archon Shard, it will still increase the strength to a value that we won't provide this speed value anymore. And there you have it. This is my own personal experience about how I use Archon Shard. You may think that it's like I'm trying to tell you not to use it, but in reality, I really want to use it, and I really recommend you to use the Archon Shard very often. Especially the buff that can provide you is actually very useful. It's just that based on scenario, I found that I'm really afraid using it, otherwise it will disrupt my other builds. And of course, this is my own personal experience, so for my case, I don't really rely on the Archon Shard. At least that's a good sign. I mean, these kind of values still can use it other than slot in Warframe, isn't it? If this is your first time watching, why not leave a like and subscribe to my channel so that you won't miss out any news contents from me. Why not leave your comments down below if you got any ideas or thoughts you want to share with all of us. And that's it from me, and as always, I will see you all next time. Bye bye!